Not live yet. We're live now. Oh, we're back. As joyful as ever. The smug grin
Yep.
continues to grow. We're doing these in a far more joyous mood every week, aren't we?
Yep. Better and better each week. It's fantastic.
I know.
And I'm slightly turning optimistic, which you'd probably
Really?
say, well, how have you not already? But
Yeah.
just like as much
It
as
was
it's
the eighth
happening,
win. The eighth win turned you.
yeah. Well, it did a bit. That was just something else. It was if you're around me, I apologize for the way I was. Probably when that the nearly touched thing was, I may have got pretty angry, but afterwards I was good. I was pretty happy about it.
Look, emotions get the better of us all, and look, I told you, I said this pressure. I'm not one to get animated, but boy, when
Yeah,
Max Gorn decides to kick the ball 75 metres away after a free kick, and there was no 50-metre penalty paid, I was angry. I was angry. But that's beside the point. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Another episode of The Rest. I'm your host, Harrison Takos, and we are joined again, as always, by Nathan. We've already touched on it, but how are you? How are you, my friend?
I thought you were responding to the comment. Then I was, I'm good. I'm good. I'm relaxed. Just like it's mathematically still possible to miss, but it like I've got
Yeah,
some calmness. I've got
yeah,
some calmness now. The weekend, there's two ways to look at it, right? Because you don't want to go in and poor form, but it's like, well, there's not as much pressure to win, but I also want to win. So it's just a bit more relaxing.
far more relaxing. Also, knowing
Yeah,
that it's GWS and Gold Coast, or Gold Coast and GWS instead of Brisbane, Melbourne, and Collingwood, soothes us
that's a
all
bit different.
just a little bit more. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But no, the weekend was great. The Tillies got up, which is awesome. Obviously,
yeah,
tomorrow night I'll watch along. Partly the reason why this show is actually moved
yeah.
from yesterday's. I didn't even know the watch along was happening. Um, I I would like to be gallivanting around the city watching that game. Um, yeah, so yeah, that's essentially why this show's where it is now. But let's all hope the Tillies get the job done tomorrow. I'm sure the watch along will be great fun. But we ramble as we always do. Let's move on, or let's start the show. I should say, couple of talking points. Obviously, there was a big retirement. Been a couple of retirements announced recently, but I feel like the big one happened today. The one that probably caught the attention of a lot of people. There was a retirement. There was also a re-signing in the coaching departments, which we'll touch on, and then of
Mm.
course with 2 rounds to go, we'll kind of give a pretty in-depth preview maybe of this round, also the round after this as well to see who makes finals. But let's kick things off with Jack Reaver retiring, ending his career this Saturday or this Sunday against North Melbourne. This Saturday against North Melbourne at the MCG, his final game. Obviously, Richmond are playing in Adelaide in round 24, so this will be his last game alongside his good friend and Premiership captain, Trent Cotchin. What was your reaction when you obviously initially when you saw this today? Were you surprised? Were you like expected this? I thought considering that they're in a slight redevelopment stage of the squad's kind of composition and finals out of the question, I wasn't too shocked that he hung the boots up in the way that he has, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I was not too much surprised, but I think it did very much the decision itself depended on how they went this year because
Yeah,
the Tigers tried to label it as, oh, look, we've got Taranto Hopper, we're going to rejuvenate this team, give it one last push, and that has turned out disastrous. And well, it does seem like that, and they've got no future now in terms of picks. So I think that decision has definitely pushed it a little bit earlier, but it's probably the right time.
yeah,
It feels like the right time. I feel like you push it one more year and they're really holding on to what they've got. But yeah, but a good game to end as well this weekend. Assuming North Melbourne, you'd think it's one they'd be able to get up in. So
yeah,
hopefully a fitting send off.
yeah. It's got Jack kicking seven, kicking eight, rolling back the years, and really dominating against a pretty poor North team. Yeah, I agree. I think I agree with what you said about the whole mantra around the season was, it's the one last dance. We're giving it everything to go again this year. A lot of people had them going quite deep. I know somebody had them finishing top 8, top 4, going deep in finals. Obviously hasn't eventuated that way with the start of the season. I was okay without being exceptional in that middle part of the season, which has really let them down. And they've left the potential chase, or they've left the potential finals charge too late. I think it's mathematically possible that they could still make it. They're 6 points. They're 6 points out with they're 6 points out with 2 games to go. So if you want to talk mathematical chances,
They are.
They are still within a chance, but I very much doubt it. I doubt it would happen. Looking back retrospectively at Jack Riewoldt's career, where does he rank for you? Obviously, he's been a very controversial figure. I would say maybe polarizing, maybe a little bit more of an apt description. You either hate him or you love him. I'm warming to him. I still, to a certain extent, on the field, not really like him, but I feel like the way he carries himself off the field, I feel like he's quite a charismatic person. Which he's got that Damien Hardwick thing about him, where he's just annoyingly charismatic. So you can't help but he's quite, you don't want to say endearing, but he knows what to say and when to say it. But what do you make of his career and the person that we think that he is, I guess?
Well, there's always a difference, between people and the player
On the field,
in that
yeah.
person and player. So, player, never been a fan. He was always a tough watch. There's always something to sook about, something not going his way. He was a very tough watch.
Very passionate.
Passionate, but to the point where it was just, when the ball goes out and 15 people contested and he's calling for deliberate, like stuff you sort of shake your head at and you're like, well, seriously, mate. But as the talent itself, good to watch. Reliable as always. He's always been there to stand, lift the team up, and he's a good watch. He's a good watch as a player. Besides the things that are pretty unlikable, and as a person, I don't have any issues. It's two different things on the field and off the field. So that's my overview.
Yeah. Just briefly on this, I know it's off topic, but how much do you love Plowman? Put it this way: when Lockie Plowman eventually retires, we'll be doing this show. Will just be a Lockie Plowman tribute show, and it will just be us speaking about like that goal against Richmond in 2021, round 1, 55 out on the boundary, impossible angle to put us in front, etc. Right? That would just be that. Anyways, besides the point. I feel like Riewoldt, as Carlton supporters, Riewoldt was always a player that got a hold of us. Probably not to the extent of someone like a Tim Embry or a Jack Melksham, but I feel like he just got a hold of us every single time we played him. It felt like, and one of the more reliable set shots, especially from difficult angles. He had that kick. I think he kicked one in the 2020 granny from that left-hand pocket, kind of the opposite of what Tom Hawkins kicks. Like Hawkins has that left to right. I feel like Riewoldt has that right to left. Beautiful kick. Where does he rank? All time is probably a little bit disingenuous considering how many great key forwards there are, and you can't really compare generations. But of our era, we spoke about Buddy not that long ago, and he's probably the best forward and up there with one of the best players. He's a two-time Coleman medalist. Did won a Coleman in almost 2 separate eras. One in 2012 when he was the focal point, and I think he won it in 2018 or 2019, where he was far more of a team player and far more of a kind of kick the ball to me, it's going to drop to the deck, and we're going to have Dan Riewoldt, Jess Castagna, Dan Butler, Josh Caddy, all these guys crumbing at the feet and kicking goal, right? So he's two-time Coleman medalist. He would have been multiple-time All-Australian, 2-time BNF, I think, and obviously 3-time premiership player. Is he... Yeah, do you think he's like antics on field maybe mask just how good of a player he was?
Look, I don't. No, I wouldn't say they masked them at all because it's annoying. It was annoying to watch. Yeah. But, it's harsh to say it's just him because it is quite a few. But it was no, I don't think they masked him. It was just like watching it was very annoying. it did take away just, elements of the game that it just, I never felt like I could enjoy watching him because he'd always do something else to just bug you. But I'm sure if you're a Richmond supporter, that it's passionate, and I can see that side
Yeah,
of it. And there are definitely two sides to it. But he was, yeah, he was enjoyable to watch for the most part.
yeah. Like when he was up and about, when he one of the better celebrators, just quietly, one of the better celebrators,
Yes,
probably
yeah,
up there with Tom Papley and Matt Owies in terms of celebrators in AFL history. A lot of people compare him to his cousin. I feel like that's very unfair. Two different eras, in my opinion. Two different
yeah,
types of forward, even though they're both key forwards. Um, I feel like this is like almost the last bit of our child. We spoke about this with Buddy as well. It's like
yeah,
it's really like our childhood era is really coming to an end now, isn't it? Like Riewoldt gone,
yeah,
Cochin gone,
yeah.
Buddy gone, Nick Nat gone, which I mean we haven't got listed on the run sheet, but he's obviously retired as well. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird, isn't it?
It is weird. Yeah, well, now with Sloan re-signing, it's like
Yeah,
just
just
holding on,
hanging
but
on.
it's just hanging on
Yeah,
by a
just
thread.
hanging on.
I guess Dangerfield as well would you can put in that. Hawkins, I guess, still
Yeah,
stays. But yeah, Riewoldt, I think it's like one of those household names. Like it's that you talk about people from your childhood, like that's one that comes up
yeah. I feel
over a Sloan or someone else.
yeah, yeah. I feel like it's going to be him and Hawkins. I think obviously they had that thing where they swapped shirts ages ago or whatever it was. And Hawkins is a lot bigger than Riewoldt, but Riewoldt has won more Colemans, obviously won more flags. It's quite a weird it's quite a weird kind of comparison considering that they're the only two. I think they're like the rung down. Maybe Josh Kennedy fits into that bracket as well. But yeah, we've been for an era which isn't known for its key forwards in the same way that like the 80s and 90s are, obviously with Lockett, Dunstall, Ablett, etc. We've had some pretty good ones. We've had some pretty good ones. What like to watch: Hawkins, Roughhead, Riewoldt, Kennedy, Buddy, and we've got like Jared Cameron, Charlie Kerner. So I feel like it's a real passing of the torch kind of era. And I mean the kind of onus or the burden of that forward line now falls onto Tom Lynch and someone like a Samson Ryan. So we're looking at it from looking at it now into the future. How does this affect Richmond going forward, or do you think that they've been prepared for this for quite a while?
I mean, I think they're in trouble regardless. I don't like they are relying on what is present right now to at least take them for 2-3 years. I mean, when you've got Lynch there, you give yourself half a chance every week. But I
Yeah,
mean, he's injured right now. But assuming he comes back next year for the start of the next year, as you'd assume he would. But I don't like personally. Maybe just because this is biased, but I do not see a great next 2 or 3 years for them. I think they're in quite a lot of trouble. I don't think what we've seen their youth is not very talented, to put it lightly.
right. Well, if we're looking at
Uh,
that forward line in particular, it's someone like a Noah Cumberland and Samson Ryan who are going to be taking that mantle.
which
Not a
Cumberland's
fair.
done well, but Samson Ryan, no, Samson
I'm
Ryan's the one I look at it.
not
He
convinced.
doesn't not convinced very much. I mean, even
I
actually
think
one
he's
I have
okay.
liked who's worked his way up is Jacob Bauer. He's done pretty well. He kicked those two after the siren goals in the VFL, but he's come up and just ticked along nicely. But you
Yeah,
don't sort of watch them and think, wow, like give these blokes 2 or 3 more years and they're going to be stars.
you
I
really
think they're
know.
just,
I
I
rate
think they're
Samson Ryan.
sufficient for right now. I think it's the best they've got. They've been that talented for so long that, well, think about it. The picks they have gotten, well, they're lower in the sense of they've finished higher up the ladder. So they haven't got a lot of top end talent down
Coming
below
through,
because
yeah.
they simply So what they've got is sufficient for now, whilst they've still got some key position players around. But in the I don't I don't look at them and think that they're good. Like it's sustainable what they have right now.
Interesting. I rate Samson right. I think he can be a very good a very good like resting forward. I feel like he can take that mantle off Nate and be like a really good resting forward when he goes into the ruck. Cumberland is really weird because he's very hot and cold, very hot and cold.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of what Riewoldt was at the start of his career, which is quite an ironic comparison, considering what's happened. But yeah, I feel like he's going to have to step up big time. And yeah, I guess it'll be interesting to see what happens with Richmond from here. But obviously, it's going to be, like we said, it's going to be Riewoldt's last game on Saturday with Cochin. I alluded to this at the start, but it's got Jack kicking the bag, right?
Does.
Surely.
Yeah, it's a bit of Cozzy kicking. How many kick? Like 6 against Freo in his last game in that dead rubber, all the way back about 10 years ago. Now it's that type of game.
That's an obscure reference. You could have gone Josh Kennedy. That happened last year.
That's true. Yeah, I just remember that game. It was just like both teams had nothing to play for, and just a send off. It was literally a send off game for like 2 of them. Another retired as well, but it was just the point of it was literally just a send off game, and premiership points meant nothing in the grand scheme of things, but it should be big.
If Richmond, I feel like we'll finish up with this one. If Richmond were still within a chance, let's just say, I don't know if this result would create such a big difference, but let's just say round 1, Richmond get the clearance, scurry the ball through for a point, and Richmond win by a point, right? In round 1, right? That would put them equal in points with Adelaide, a game out of the 8. If they were mathematically still within a chance to make finals, like a realistic chance, obviously we all know that there's no chance technically, but like a realistic chance. So they were in the position of what Geelong or GWS are. Do you think he would have retired, or do you think he would have, like, I don't know how to explain this, but do you think he would have announced his retirement in the way that he had, announced it differently, or just not retired and played on next year?
He would have done it differently because obviously Sunday's result pretty much put the nail in the coffin. Well, we suck now, so let's just finish it now. So, I feel like that was the way you do it. It's like, would you? And that's the thing. You wouldn't have said that if you hadn't lost. You would have kept. I feel like you would have just, we'll keep going. Yeah. But we lost. All right, I'm done. Yeah. So, I think if they were 2 points more, he'd probably, if you were going to announce it, it would be whenever we're out until the season's end.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I agree. Well, it's definitely going to be a fitting tribute, and unfortunately, North are going to be the whipping boys and the kind of sacrificial lamb to Trent Cotchin. Obviously, it's going to be Trent Cotchin's final game as well. I think they've announced that they want to play around 24. So can't wait for Koch to roll back the years and have 26, because I feel like Koch was never. I might be remembering this wrong, but Koch never was like a 40 touch kind of player, was he? Or was it like early on in his career?
He's a 30s, like can hit the 30s regularly.
31 and 2.
He was never a breakout like 40 game player. I don't think.
Koch rolls back the years, has 24, has like 28, kicks 3, and Jack kicks 10, and Arthur Clarkson gets sacked. Maybe not, but I feel like that's obviously going to be a fitting tribute to his career. Question here: would you get Jack to play a forward coach for Carlton? No,
probably not.
Probably not, because just because a player can kick the ball good doesn't mean that he can coach people to kick the ball good. Same way that Michael Malthouse wasn't a flash player by any means, but he was a very good coach, etc. Right? Just because you're a good player doesn't mean you're going to be a good coach. Although, and I also don't think Jack's going to coach. Surely he's got a gig at Fox Footy. He's got a contract at Fox Footy. Shortly, right?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Yes.
Can't wait. AFL 360 next year with Jared and Jack. Robbo gets a sack. I'm sure this is off topic, but Harry's back next week. Yeah, it's gonna be good. Gonna be real good. Just quietly. Doesn't
Yes,
upset
quietly.
the system. Moving on from a sacking to a re-signing or sacking retirement. Maybe tap on the shoulder. Ken Hinkley till 2025. Obviously, it's been announced. It's been talk all year about the magical month of August that David Koch and the Port Adelaide Football Club will announce whether or not they re-sign or part ways with current head coach Ken Hinkley. It obviously was announced today that there will be a press conference at 3 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, and that press conference included or contained the announcement of Ken Hinkley re-signing for 2 more years. As someone who has very strong thoughts on the Port Adelaide Football Club, take it away.
That's on me now. Well, poor decision in my opinion, and this is this seems like the general consensus that how can you re-sign a bloke that has taken you nowhere in 10 years? And sure, prelims are prelims, but they're not. I would never want to lose 5 prelims. I know they've got to 3 prelims. If you said, okay, I'll give you a coach and I can guarantee you'll get to 3 prelims, he said, great. But then you said, well, you're going to lose all 3. What joy is that bringing you? It's a cycle that they cannot get out of. I said this at the start of the season, and I look stupid for saying it, I guess, because they have done well this season, but I just don't think this list mentally has it in them to go all the way because they've proven they can't do it in recent years where they've choked twice in a row at home. It's good and all to get to finals and do well in the regular season. And similar to Brisbane, and I guess the same question should be asked of Fagan, especially if they can't get to the grand final this year. Why keep trying again and again with the same bloke who's not getting you results? So it's silly in the sense they've done it at this time of year when they could, for all we know, go out in straight sets. I'm not sure why this decision needed to be done now and why it literally couldn't wait till the season's end because it's not. I don't work at a football club, but I don't think it does harm. Thank you, but I don't think it does any harm to wait till the season's end. So I just think it's a dumb decision, and this could come back to bite me if they do end up winning the premiership, but you can't predict that. But you could at least go off what you've seen in the past and say, well, there's a high likelihood they're not going to be able to do it because they've just struggled in the past to do it. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of this at all. And it feels like not a lot of people are either.
Well, I'll play devil's advocate for the sake of playing devil's advocate, right? And Ken Hinkley has taken a Port Adelaide side that I wouldn't say is rebuilding, but has gone through slight rejuvenation over the last maybe half decade. Obviously, Rosie Butters, Dersma have been the main catalysts for that, but even the likes of Alira have come in, and obviously Mitch Georgiades before he got injured, and obviously Ollie Lord, and these younger players who obviously the first two that I mentioned have played far more consistent football, but they're just examples of younger players coming into this team and rejuvenating it, right? He's taken them to he went on a 13 game win streak with them. We'll make top 4 barring some dramatic, or are they even? They can't even drop out.
I think they've locked it. Yeah, they've locked.
Yeah, they've locked in top 4. Right? So they've locked in top 4, potentially locking in a home final, depending on what Brisbane are able to do, or depending on what Port are able to do. So if they get a home final, finish second, you'd assume that they'd probably get a prelim from there, considering that they'll play 2 home finals. And Port are quite good at home, right? So you'd assume they'd make a prelim. Probably the expectation, right, as things stands right now, is a prelim final. Surely, I know that would make them 4 prelims for 3 losses and the potential of a 4th or their first win. Surely that's still good though. Like surely that is still good, and surely there is a level of not justification, but surely there's a level of kind of, if this guy's taken us to 4 prelims, we need to give him the respect that he deserves in giving him the rest of this list, or giving him a few more years to try and take this list as far as he can take it, because he's gone through the cycle. Went through the cycle in the early 2010s in 13 and 14, where he got deep, obviously a semi and a prelim. Went through that rebuilding stage and has come out in the last 3 years, probably barring last year. 20, obviously with the prelim 21, a prelim 22 was disappointing, but we saw the back end of that year they performed really well and has set up what has been a very good 2023. Assuming they make a prelim this year, do you think another coach, because it's all well and good sacking Ken Hinkley, you need to sack Ken Hinkley and then have a plan, and that plan needs to be, or that outcome needs to have, that decision needs to have a better outcome than what Ken Hinkley was giving. Obviously, that was prelims. Do you think if they sack Ken Hinkley, they can hire another coach to get them to a prelim?
Yes. But I've got a couple of things to say. I have to carefully control what I'm going to say, right? The first thing being, and I'm looking from Port Adelaide and Brisbane's perspective, maybe these two blokes are just good development coaches. That just could be what their niche is, and they're great at that, and that's probably where it stops.
Yeah, and well, sorry to interrupt. Obviously, Ken and Fagan, both assistant coaches at dynasty-winning clubs, obviously Hawthorn and Geelong. So that could very well be the case.
They know what talent is, and like I agree with your point. He's rebuilt that team in a sense, and the talent has come in, and they have come in and played their role and done pretty well. And there haven't been a lot of players that have completely fallen off and just got the flick. When they get in, they stay usually, and they perform quite well. But I do think another coach can change it. And my second point, if I move this to round ball talk, if we look at Liverpool in this last 7-year block of success, if Klopp came in and he finished second in the Premier League all those years, even the year they won it, if they finished second, so never won the Prem and got to 3 Champions League semi-finals, are you saying that's good enough? Is that? It's like, well, you're successful to an extent, but I just think that you can find someone that can get you that next step up. There's always that room to grow, but I think he's just reached his potential.
But do you think the minimum of this list is a prelim final, or for you to say that you think another coach can get this list to a grand final, you would have to say that obviously means that the minimum that this list is capable of achieving is a prelim final.
Sorry, I need to say. So you're saying the minimum
expectation of this list.
Repeat. Yes.
The minimum. Yes. So if you think that do you think that this list's expectation, regardless of the coach, is making a prelim final?
This is. No, I think it's a mental block because of him. They're not going to get forward if he's still there. I just think, it's...
So it's... Okay.
You're surrounded by the same people that have had the same issues. How are you ever going to evolve? I think they just could have... If they got rid of him at the start of the year, it never really worked out since they... I thought they would get rid of him after the showdown because it did seem like that was going to happen, but I just think there was an ability to grow, like really build and like establish. Look, like that's of the past with that game plan, everything else. Like they have the potential to make the grand final, and they probably should have made it in 2020. I mean, they definitely should have done it in 21. Like that was actually probably an easier way to get in than 2020, considering they're playing Richmond with all their success, etc. experience. So
it was set up for them in 21 to win that game.
Yeah, and they've definitely. I don't know what you think, but they've gotten better since 21.
For sure.
Assume you agree. So yeah, I just think he's really the issue. Like, will always be the blocking point.
You said that they've gotten better since 21. So does that?
It's good development. He's good at what he does in terms of development.
So, okay, I'm not denying that at all, and I actually would agree that that's probably his biggest strength, is his ability to develop a game plan, because obviously he was part of that incredible Geelong setup that won, what was it, 3-5. Similarly to how you mentioned Fagan as well, obviously part of that Hawthorn system that won, well, they got to 4 grand finals in 4 years and won 3 of them, right? So I do agree. If you think they've gotten better since 21, and I think they have as well, okay, so we're in agreement that the squad itself and the team has gotten better, yeah?
Yeah.
Have they gotten better enough, if that makes sense, in comparison to the rest of the competition? Or has the rest of the competition gone past them, even though the Port have gotten better as well? If that makes sense.
Well, I mean, I feel like they haven't grown above anyone, but they're definitely above too many. I think where they sit right now is accurately probably where they are, because Brisbane have somehow been the best and worst in the competition for the last 4 years, which is quite crazy that they have just continued to go like that, but they're still in the top 4. They really haven't done much. But they just always seem like there's something, just like they just can't do it. Like if I told you now Collingwood and Port Adelaide, you'd say Collingwood, because there's just something about it. They've got that extra bit.
So if I'll say right now, Port Adelaide, Melbourne.
In a final, I'd say Melbourne, because every time I think of Port Adelaide, it's this feeling that it's like this Port Adelaide team with Ken involved. It just feels like the same, like that same energy. No matter what the team is, it just feels like they won't be able to do it. There's that pressure because they weren't able to do it, those 2 years in a row. I just don't have confidence with them, like in those pressure situations in the back end of the year. It just feels so similar, but a better team.
Yeah, no, yeah, I can't disagree. So I'm assuming you're thinking it's a go backwards to go forward type job. Like they've reached this ceiling that they just can't seem to break, and they can't seem to get past this wall. That they just need to stop, go back, and then go full steam ahead again, and then come up with completely fresh game plan ideas. Even at least might be the same. I'm assuming that's how kind of you're looking at it when you're thinking about why they should sack him.
I don't think you even have to go backwards that much, because it's more so just bringing a new influence, fresh voice. I don't think they'd go backwards by any means. They're in a good spot. It just feels it's so Ken orientated now. Like it feels like when you talk about Port Adelaide, it's all about Ken.
Yeah.
What can Ken's team do? And
what, the second longest serving coach behind Chris Scott?
Yeah.
Third. John Lamar, third.
Well, and you just compare the three, and to be fair, John Lamar, well, he's got them to 2 grand finals, 1 and 1.
2012.
Oh, 2014 as well. Sorry, I was thinking 12 and 16. I think Chris Scott, we know what he's done. So there's a lot, big differences.
You raise a good point. You definitely raise a good point with that. And obviously, Chris Scott and John Longmire have, it's very similar. Their career trajectories have been very similar in terms of all 3 of them came in, had pretty much instant success. Longmire won a flag. Chris Scott won a flag. Ken probably, if that prelim against Hawthorn goes on for 2 more minutes, they probably win a flag as well. But it didn't, and they haven't. And they all kind of went through this lull period. Obviously, Longmire probably more recently between 2017 and 20. They went through that lull period. Chris Scott probably 2015 was the year they didn't make finals, and then 16 and 17 they really didn't do a whole lot. And obviously Ken in the same period, but both have come out of it. Longmire's made a grand final again, and obviously we all know what happened. Obviously Chris Scott won that flag in the same grand final, whereas Ken has hit that wall again. So maybe you are right. Maybe you are right in the fact that regardless of what happens, regardless of the list, there is just this thing this intangible thing. I completely can understand and see the justification behind that. well, let's just assume, let's finish up this talking point. Let's just assume he sees out his contract and doesn't get renewed. What happens to them this year, next year, and the year after? If you were to give probably not ladder predictions, I feel like that's a bit unfair, but just kind of like a holistic view. Because I think barring a catastrophe, I see them making finals. I think the list is good enough to make finals the next 3 years or the next 2 years. If you're not going to include this one, obviously they're locked in top 4. But 24 and 25, I think they can make finals. Whether or not they do something in finals, I don't know. I feel like it's dependent on the rest of the competition, to be honest.
They could win a grand final if they really. That list has the capability of winning it. It's like, and now is probably the best time to cash in and do it because Melbourne are probably the best team in this competition, barring what we've seen this year in the form, etc. I'd still think they're the best team for the last couple of years. Collingwood haven't done anything yet, so they're still not, as labelled the dynasty team that they were going to be, right? Like, they're not there yet. Brisbane haven't done anything. Carlton are probably too low to win a premiership, even if, the run continues, etc. Like, there's not a damaging team this year. There is
It's
no.
up for
Collingwood
grabs.
It's up for grabs. Collingwood have been the best team, but there's no previous history to suggest like they're going to win the grand final because they've been the best team for the last couple of years, etc.
And arguably,
So
the history suggests, and this is not a pot shot by like at all. The history suggests that when it finals time and Collingwood don't mix all that well,
yeah,
right.
So
Recent history, especially right. Last year they probably should have made a grand final, right? And should they have made that grand final, they probably win it. 2019, they definitely should have made a grand final, right? Especially when the expectation's on them. Obviously, 2020, there was no expectation, and 2021. No, 2020, 2020. No expectation on them at all.
Yeah.
And they won the unwinnable game in Perth, right? So, I promise this is not a pot shot at Collingwood. This is me looking at it objectively. We all know when expectations are on, Collingwood turn into a different team, right? That's just fact. So I agree. I do agree. They can definitely win the flag this year.
Yeah.
Definitely.
If anything, the re-signing has put the pressure back on them because I feel like without that external pressure now, it's like they go into finals. If they lose, he's out. But if they win, well, it's like it's happened. Whereas now it's like, well, you've got to get far now. Now the pressure's on them. If anything, now the least pressure probably falls onto Brisbane and Melbourne in that sense. Brisbane, I guess they do have it, but like Melbourne now, what's there for Melbourne? Like they've won their premiership. When they look back in 10 years, probably you could say that maybe they didn't do enough for that list, but they're going into these finals thinking, well, the three above, the pressure's like on. Like it's fully on for them now. So,
well,
back to the original question. Sorry, I never even answered it. This list should be making finals. They should be contending. I just don't think they will if he's there.
Fair enough. Yeah. Probably. Yeah, no, I what you said before, I think is very, very poignant. This era right now that we're seeing in this year, last year, this year, the four teams that have made the top 4, probably Geelong the exception. Obviously, Port didn't make top 4 last year, didn't make the 8, but like Port, in terms of this era, haven't got anything out of this list, all the way dating back all the way to 2019, 2020. Collingwood should have won the flag. Definitely should have won the flag, right? Whether it's 18 or 19, or even last year, definitely should have won a flag. And Brisbane have been the weirdest team, like you said, where they have managed to plateau, but that plateau has come at just consistently being in the top 4 without doing anything, which I haven't seen ever. Like, I haven't seen ever. Like, I've not seen a team be so unbelievably 8 out of 10 at everything, but without eventually breaking the glass, without eventually grabbing the brass ring and winning it. And obviously Melbourne have got that flag, whereas Port can fit into either one of those two brackets where they finally get something out of this list, or we look back at it in 10 years' time and think, gee, they made 3 prelims in 6 years and weren't able to get it done. One of those things. Anyways, Let's move
Yes.
on
Yeah.
because we speak about Ken a lot on this podcast. We speak about Port a lot. Let's speak on the last two rounds. Obviously, the finals race is heading up, and we'll give our proper predictions of the games next in terms of like our round 23
Yeah.
predictions. But if we're looking at the finals race, probably look, let's include Carlton in it because it's mathematically possible. And even though it's incredibly unlikely, it's the Carlton Football Club. So you can never tempt fate all too well. So Carlton, St Kilda, Sydney, the Western Bulldogs, Essendon, GWS, Geelong, Adelaide. That's 8 teams fitting in 4 spots. It's gonna matter. The math don't math. The math don't math.
It'll be fun. It'll be fun to watch. Look, I've quickly noted down things just for time, so I don't forget where I'm at. I'll start with Sydney.
Right.
You know, I just put it danger.
In terms of
They can they might be the Richmond of this year in terms of, you know, how and you've always said this, like Richmond get in, I'd worry no matter where they are.
yeah,
Sydney get in, I'd worry no matter what. I mean, this week is a big game. And I think regardless of what happens this week, I see them beating Melbourne in the last round purely because it's at the SCG. And I don't think Melbourne travel very well down up to Sydney. So Sydney scare me quite a lot.
you would want to verse them, and another team you would want to verse is Geelong. They're the two that, regardless of form, talent, structure, whatever, you wouldn't want to verse, regardless of if it's home or away. Sydney have this mentality where it's just backs against the wall, they can go wherever and win for some reason. And Geelong are just one of those teams, right? And they did it last year and they proved it last year. They're just one of those teams that any given day they can just rock up. Dangerfield can have 30, kick 2. Cameron can kick 7. Hawkins can kick 5. Isaac Smith can roll back the years, have 25 and kick 2 off the wing. And just completely tear a game apart. Gary Rowan can show up for the one final every 7 years he decides to play. And he can kick a bag, and then all of a sudden, bang! You're down by 5 goals halfway through the last quarter, and there's no coming back, right? From like in the blink of an eye. I think the teams that I feel like there are 2 types of teams heading into this final series. There is the team that I just mentioned, the team that you wouldn't want to verse, and there's also a team like Richmond in 2016, where they scrape in and they eventually get pumped first week.
Yeah.
Right? I look at Essendon. I look at Adelaide. And I think, assuming both of those teams, Adelaide won't get a home final. I think it's borderline mathematically impossible for Adelaide to get a home final. If Adelaide have to travel to the G against the Carlton, against the Western Bulldogs, against the Geelong, even though I don't think that's mathematically possible either, that's going to be a bad day for them, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't disagree based off what I've said. The only one I disagree with is Dogs. I think that's neutral. I think because I genuinely think enough people would travel from Adelaide to the point where it could be like a 60-40 split.
Yeah, fair.
So that's the only one I'd disagree with. But my point, Adelaide genuinely might get in, winning 11 games in Adelaide and 2 games interstate. 1 against Hawthorn in Tassie by 3 points, and West Coast 99% they will travel over there and win. Which is just oh my God, that is. Look, and especially if you're someone like GWS who have done the hard work, like these guys.
Yeah.
If they win away, they win away because they literally have no one there.
Yeah.
And look, their fate might come down to Carlton, which is, ironic, but like they could miss out. And a team like Adelaide, who has just done the job in Adelaide, could get in, which is very possible. So, back to your point, you would like to play a team like Adelaide based off what they've shown. But they're also a team who you give them a sniff and they could somehow it would just like it would be like poetic almost that they win everything in Adelaide, and then they go to the MCG in week 1 and win. Like
Yeah,
it just magically happens.
yeah. Footy works in mysterious ways. Footy works in mysterious ways.
So
What do you make? What do you make of the Bombers? Are you because
is this a serious talking point? Are they included in this conversation?
they have to be. They have to be. They're ninth. Their percentage out of the 8,
Yeah, well,
and they've scraped past North and the West Coast Eagles,
yeah.
and they've got to travel up to the GW to Western Sydney to the GWS, and then they face the black and white tsunami that is Collingwood in the last round, which has a lot of implications. Do you?
Yes, yeah.
Can they make it? They can. Could definitely make it.
They could definitely make it.
It'd be so Essendon to scrape past West Coast and North, and then beat the Giants over there and beat Collingwood with the G.
It would be. I mean, sort of back to my point with Giants missing out and Adelaide getting in. Well, look, if you're GWS, you win this comfortably. You don't deserve to make it if you cannot beat Essendon, in all honesty. So they are shocking to watch. They are really shocking to watch. And it's, man, that we got given absolute shit back about 10 weeks ago when we were traveling, and they were like, oh, but look, we've won these games. Like, oh, no, we don't need them. Like, we're still good. No, you need certain blokes in your team to be good.
Yeah.
Like, take Langford out of that team. Where are your goals? They're like,
he's a leading goal kicker. Nick Martin's proving to be probably their most important player.
So I'm have this thing, and I don't know why. I think if if they beat Giants, they'll beat Collingwood, and Collingwood will got first spot. Off you go. I'm not.
But do you think they do anything in finals? Do you think they do anything in finals, or like really?
Essendon.
But it'd be so typical.
If they play the Dogs in Melbourne, they've got a chance. But did I just say Dogs in Adelaide? I swear.
No,
it's Dogs.
It's gathering.
Yes, but no, I don't think they've got the same like energy around them as Adelaide, because Adelaide have actually fair play to them. They've taken it up to all the top 4 teams.
Yeah,
Essendon have beaten Melbourne, and I don't think they've lost to Port twice. They took it up to Port, but they still lost twice. They lost to Collingwood on Anzac Day. Nearly, they were up, but they lost that. And then Brisbane, they got pumped in Brisbane. Yeah. So when you look at them in Adelaide, I think Adelaide are more of a threat because they've actually like done something. And they probably should have won most of those games. Essendon lost most of those games convincingly, and the Port one is the one you probably look at and saying, okay, they probably should have won it. But no, I don't think they'll do anything in this form. I guess if they won their last 2, they'd be in good form.
Yeah.
But I couldn't even see them getting past the Giants.
I've just realised that my mic hasn't been connected this whole episode, so that's great. Just connected it now.
I haven't been able to tell.
Really?
I have not been able to tell.
There you go. Maybe it's not. Maybe it doesn't really matter all that much. Anyways. Anyways, this final race is going to be really weird. I see a very competitive bottom half of the 8 regardless. I think I don't want to pump Carlton up too much, but I think from 6th or from 5th, I think we could see a world in which 5th and 6th both lose. And I'm including Carlton in that because I don't want to tempt fate. But we could see a world in which we have 2 teams go straight sets, genuinely. Just because of how weird this finals and this season is. Sydney have proven to be a very formidable opponent regardless of where they played. Obviously, they haven't travelled that well at the MCG so far this season. But they won in Adelaide. They won in Adelaide in Gather Round, in fairness, but still. St Kilda are one of those teams that can just grind out a 40 to 50 win. Ross Lyon ball at its absolute prime. And if the Dogs are one of those teams where if it falls for them, they can win any game by 50 points. So you can never trust them. So you don't know which team they're gonna show up with. The Bombers, the same, in my opinion. The Giants obviously are a very well structured team. Geelong, like we've mentioned, and Adelaide, well, like you mentioned about that poetic justice of football, could win all the games away in Adelaide, can't win away from home, and then the first final they play away, they win. So if you had to kind of give a proper, or if you had to like, I feel like let's do it. Who makes it from here? Assuming
Let me
the
get
top
my
five.
Well, I've done the ladder predictor, so I'll just get it up so I can just literally tell you who I put. I think that's right, what I've done. I hope it is. Okay. Well, yeah, I think it's right. Okay, we'll start with fifth. I think Carlton stay fifth.
Yeah,
unless drastic circumstances. In sixth for me, Sydney. I think they.
Right.
Well, no, I can't. No, I don't want to give away. I just say because I won't say who they beat. Six Sydney. You know, who's your six?
I haven't done it. I'm just going off vibes. Okay. I'll go with the Swans as well in sixth. Yeah.
Okay. In seven, Geelong.
Geelong have
Saints and Dogs.
The Dogs in GMHBA at GMHBA. The Saints at Marvel.
Dogs will 90% be playing for an 8 spot. So
I'll go the Saints in seventh.
Okay. Which means you think they'll knock one of Geelong or Brisbane off?
I think they win this weekend.
And then 8 Dogs on percentage. I have Dogs, Saints, Essendon all on 12 wins. And that could be Adelaide as well if they win this week.
So I think the Giants win one of them. I think the Giants win this weekend. I think the Cats beat the Dogs. So that means, and I think the Dogs win this weekend as well. Who they got this weekend?
Eagles.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, they win that. So that means they'll put the Dogs on 48. That put the Giants on 48. And obviously percentage permitting. I've got the Dogs in 8 as well, yeah. With the Dogs in 8th.
Giants unlucky. Look, I think
Giants stiff. So stiff.
I just put this here. I think the win streak was just good glimpse of the future, but I just we're on time to do it. No, not on time. Like it just is like it was built up, but I think they're not ready. Like the team is not ready yet. Yeah. But it was just like that was everything to them though, it will be. But you never know. Like they should win this weekend, and they give themselves a chance against Carlton, which I really wonder what Carlton will do.
Assuming we win, it'll be interesting. It will definitely be interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah,
yes, that's a segue into tips.
That is a segue to tips. Let's preview, and let's preview the round. And I've actually got the round. I've actually got the 2 rounds. I did my job.
Yes.
Yeah. And I've got the tips in. I've got them in. So you're on 1. So you got. I didn't even put our last. Oh, you got 7 last round. I think I got 4. So I'm on 108. You're on 125.
Well, I'm not doubling. I'm gonna go the season without using my double, and
You're cool, aren't you? Cheers.
Well, I know what. Do you want to use it? You can. I'll give you another double this round. I'll give you another.
No, I want your pity. I don't want your pity.
I'm giving you. All right. Okay.
No. Okay. Collingwood, Brisbane.
Oh, Collingwood pretty comfortably.
I've got Brisbane, Marvel tax.
Okay. They do better at Marvel, but I think pressure's on Brisbane. Because if they lose, it's like, okay, these guys aren't legit.
Yeah. Richmond versus North.
Richmond.
Yep. Suns, Blues.
Continuing the streak. Blues.
Good man, the Suns. GWS, the Essendon Bombers.
Giants.
I agree. St Kilda versus Geelong.
This is tougher the more I think about it. Because St Kilda always give you a glimmer of hope. Like, they are ones to
Marvel as well.
throw the line out. This is just, they've thrown the line out, put a lot of bait on it, but they'll draw it right back in before anyone gets it. And this could be like game of the round. Possibly.
It could. But it also has the potential of Geelong winning by 10 goals.
Yes, it does. I think it'll be close. Geelong, it's just experience. I think Geelong will get it done. They always have it over St Kilda.
Fair enough. I've got the Saints. I think the Marvel tax rears its ugly head again. Quick segue. Geelong versus St Kilda, 2009, the famous game, Michael Gardner. Yeah? What time was that and what date?
It was a Sunday, but it wasn't 3:20. It was either 2:10 or was it 2:10?
See, it was Sunday. I think it was 3:20. But the fact that game is 3:20 on a Sunday completely has warped my perception of time. That to me just had.
I think it was 2:10 because they didn't do 3:20 for those seven. The 3:20 was not like I think that was 2012. It wasn't. I remember. I think my uncle gave me like his ticket from that game. I swear it was like 2:10 or something.
But regardless, the fact that game isn't a Friday night has warped my perception of time because that game just screamed Friday night to me. I don't know. Maybe because all the day games at Marvel in that era were roof open.
Yeah. No, you're right.
So, anyways, just a quick tangent. Adelaide versus the Swans at Adelaide Oval.
Well, Sydney looks so dangerous. I have to. Is this losers out, right? Like, are we probably going to lean towards that? Not really, actually.
No, not. Because they
actually have very winnable games.
Not for the Swans.
Adelaide, probably a bit more though.
Yeah,
I think Adelaide, surely Adelaide.
I've got the Swans. Western Bulldogs versus West Coast at Marvel. Oh God.
Dogs.
Yep. Yep. Melbourne Hawthorn.
Melbourne.
Yeah, as much as it would help Carlton for potential top 4 chances, I think Melbourne. No Mitchell Lewis makes it really hard. And West Coast and Freo versus Port at Optus.
Oh.
I've got Port. I think Port have to win.
They do have to win. But I'm just going to go Freo for a bit of an out there.
Yeah, there you go.
There's a possibility.
So you've got Collingwood, Richmond, Carlton, GWS, Geelong, Adelaide, Dogs, Melbourne, Freo. I've got Brisbane, Richmond, Suns, GWS, St Kilda, Sydney, Dogs, Melbourne, Port. So we differ on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So he gets up this week. That is all for today's episode. Thank you very much for sticking out. Thank you very much for watching on this changed time slot. We'll be back normally Wednesday, 6 p.m. next week, or 7 p.m. next week. Make sure you stick around for the jumper punch, which starts in like a minute. So I better hurry up and wrap this up. Make sure you watch the watch along tomorrow night. Support the Tillies, get around them. Make sure you subscribe to the Blue Board YouTube channel. Follow both of us on Twitter at @Ari_Y_Stammer at Nate Seppi. Yeah. See you guys next Wednesday at 7 o'clock. Goodbye.